Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and let everybody in and get things started here in just a moment. Welcome and give us just a second to get things set up here, and we should be good to go. Turn my phone off, all these fun things. There we go. All right. Gotta, as usual, get my windows moved around here. We'll start with a little bit of housework, and we'll be getting started here in about a minute and a half. While we're waiting, if you guys would do me a favor, I would absolutely love it if you would tell me in the chat whereabouts you're coming from geographically. I'm down in Alabama at the moment. It's sunny and all that. We're loving it, but I know it's not that way everywhere. Tell me in the chat if you would where you're from and anything you'd like to share. Love to see where everybody's coming in from. We've got UK, Texas, Oregon, Florida, uh, boy, all kinds of stuff. I love it. Atlanta, Germany, Sweden, Canada. I can't even keep up. That is fantastic. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Who's from Grand Rapids, Michigan? Oh, Jennifer. Hey, Jen. Nice to see you. Actually, I can't see you, but good to see you there. For those who don't know, I used to live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so it still holds a fine spot in my heart. Costa Rica. Diego's with us from Costa Rica. We've got Jan in Greenville, Teresa in Alabama, another one in Alabama. That's good. Heflin. Teresa, how far is Heflin from Foley? I'm new down in Alabama, so I'm learning. You'll have to tell me how far that is away. We got Arkansas, Houston. Monique noticed my Pac-Man cap. Yeah, a Christmas present from my wife. Nice to. Monique's all the way from South Africa, Louisiana. Awesome, guys. Oh, I love it. Love seeing where everybody's from. Florence, Italy. Edward, welcome. I think that maybe we've got Carrie in from Australia. This is awesome. Philippines, lots and lots of stuff. Okay, so Teresa's about 4.5 hours away. All right. Well, I'm learning Alabama slowly but surely. But let me tell you, I love it down here this time of year because in Michigan it's cloudy and cold, and it's not here, so it's a great place to be. All right, we're going to get things kicked off today. If you guys remember, is all about building a community. And over the next 3 days, we're going to be talking to you about exactly that. And I'm going to be sharing literally everything that I've done and that I recommend. Some maybe the mistakes I did, and I'd recommend you guys doing it differently. Some of the things I did that worked out well on how you can build a community. And so we're going to walk over that over 3 days. At the end of 3 days, I expect you to have a community. I expect you to, and again, you don't have to, but we're going to give you that capability to set up a community. So have one going. We're going to give you the time to actually make sure you've got the first welcome posts in, and we're going to leave with a 30-day plan for you, an action plan, so you know for the next month exactly what you need to do to start building that group. Each session, just a little bit of housekeeping. Each session is going to run about 30 to 60 minutes in training, and then we're going to open up the rest for Q&A. I schedule each session, for those of you who've been with me before, for at least 90 minutes. And if there's questions, I have actually scheduled 2 hours each day in my calendar. So if there are questions, I'll be here for up to 2 hours each day to answer any questions you guys have. And we'll take some questions as we go through, and then we'll open it up for Q&A in the second half of the session. We will be posting replays. So every session will be posted in replays a few hours after each session. So if you happen to miss anything or you want to make sure you've got access to it, just make sure you're part of our portal group, which you guys can find on the link that was sent in your email. I think most of you guys are there. I haven't checked recently, but we've got about 300 people that have registered, and I think most of us are in the group. I'll take a look here in a moment to find out so that we can get that taken care of. But it'll always be posted there. I will also send out a replay via email. So if you don't want to log into the group, I'll send it out via email. That one sometimes takes me just a few moments longer. And then in addition, just so that you guys know, due to popular demand, we actually have an AI summary of the entire transcript of each lesson. So we're going to go through the session today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and we'll do a full AI summary of that so that you guys can kind of get a key takeaway section and everything else. We also will go through the chat. So if you're in the chat and you have questions, links are shared, and you miss something, just a reminder, if you look at the chat in the upper right-hand corner, there's 3 dots in a line. If you click on that before the end of this session or before you leave, you can download the chat as a text file to your computer, but we will also publish that text file, and we're going to have ChatGPT go through and summarize it. So to like grab all the questions and the answers, grab all the links that are shared and all that. So So if you've missed anything as we post different links, don't worry that it's going to be lost. Those will all be posted in multiple locations so that you can get access. But the first place everything gets updated is in the portal group itself, which I think most of you guys have been there. And that's actually an example of one of the types of groups that we can set up using the things we're going to talk about today. So I think that's all the major homework things. We'll do that. I want to give a huge shout out to Sherry Stockton. Sherry Stockton is here helping out managing the chat. So everybody say hi to Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Thank you so much. She is absolutely amazing and helps out so much. So I don't thank her enough for all the stuff that she's done, and I'm truly grateful for that. I'm sure there's something else I'm missing, but I don't know what it is. Oh, I remember. If you guys have a question, if you would just raise your hand. We've got 150 some people in right now. Again, we had about 300 people registered, so we'll probably have 150 to 200 that are live on the classes with us. If you've got a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. Please keep yourself unmuted unless I call on you, just because background noises and stuff. I'm going to call out Spinach.ai. I keep muting you and you unmute yourself. If you continue to do that, I will kick you out of the call. So I'm going to give you a couple more chances here. That may be somebody's AI tool, and if it is, you're going to be booted out of the call. I had a complaint last time, just so you guys know, Spinach.ai is going bye-bye. If you guys, when we unmute you, if you don't, or if you continue to unmute yourself, we're going to remove you from the call for that purpose. Last time we had somebody in somewhere else, I don't remember where they were, and they ended up on a phone call, and it took a while to figure that out. So we don't do that because we don't like you. We do that to make a better experience for everybody else, and we will absolutely unmute you and bring you in when you have questions so that we can answer those. In fact, I see Yvonne on my screen. So Yvonne, if you don't mind, I'm going to use you as an example. If you've got a question and you come up, what we're going to do, just so you know what to expect, is we're going to add you to the spotlight. You guys should be able to see both Yvonne and myself at this point in time up on screen. That's how the video will get recorded and everything else. We'll do that. If you don't want to be on screen, you don't have to be. You can go ahead and turn your camera off. By the way, thanks, Yvonne, for being such a great sport as you always are. I appreciate that. But we'll bring you on camera and that end. But if you would raise your hand, then we can work our way down and do best to answer questions. You're also welcome to ask questions in the chat, although I will not be paying a lot of attention to that while we're going through today. We'll definitely look at it tonight. Sherry will do her best to answer questions, but the best way to get questions answered is to raise your hand and ask here in the group. And I want to encourage you, if you have a question, there's probably 12 other people on the call that have the exact same question, that are debating whether they should raise their hand. So do them all a favor and just raise your hand and ask it, because I'm sure there'll be some others. There are no dumb questions whatsoever, and I want you guys to know that as we go through. All right, so building groups. How do we build online communities, and where do we do so? So I'm going to start off maybe in a little bit different direction than you hoped I was going to start off in. And we're going to talk about where do we build an online community before we talk about how do we build it. And the reason is it's really important that we pick the platform where we want our online community to be. There are a lot of different platforms, and I'm going to show you some of them. We're going to be talking a lot about Facebook groups today and throughout the training, but that is not the only place to build a community. You guys may have heard of a community called School, Skool, a very popular, very good community platform. That may be the one that you choose to go on. There's another one called Circle that's very good. I build most of mine out on one called GHL, or Go High Level, that you guys are welcome to use. There's also one called Kajabi, and there are dozens more that I'm missing. So if I haven't called on your favorite platform, I'm not trying to be rude, but there are a lot of different platforms that you can use. One of the first things, though, that we need to talk about is what your goal and objective is, because that matters as you pick your platform. So if you're looking to build a community and free getting started is really important, then Facebook groups is probably where you want to start, because Facebook groups, as long as you have a Facebook account, totally free. They don't cost you a penny. You may go, Jonathan, well, why would we do anything other than a Facebook group? Well, you could do a LinkedIn group as well. If your audience is on LinkedIn, that can be good. They're also free and provide a lot of value. But there's a few downsides to that. And before you pick your platform and go, oh, I'm going to build it here, I want you to know what those downsides are. Because had I known what I know today when I started my Facebook community back in 2023, I had to think when that was, Probably wouldn't have built it on Facebook. And I'll share with you why as we go along. Not that Facebook's bad, but you definitely lose a few things because of the fact that you're working on a free community. What do you lose? Here's the biggest thing. It's not yours, it's Facebook's. And you need to accept that, or LinkedIn or any other free service that you use. If you're not paying for a service, then you don't actually own the community. Somebody else does. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have a fair bit of control, but it does limit your options. And so I want you to think about that before you go on. At the same point, if you're building communities, and especially if this is your first one, you may not want to spend money out of the box. School's going to cost you about $99 a month. GHL is going to cost you about the same. Kajabi is similar. Circle is similar. They're all very similar on their costs. The one benefit, and one of the reasons that we're using High Level, is that I can build an unlimited number of communities on High Level for $99 a month or $97 a month, as opposed to just $99 per community on School. And I'll share with you other reasons why I've chosen to do that as we go along. But I want to let you know all of those communities that we've talked about are valid. So what I want to ask you guys real quick is to just think for a minute. I'm not going to start a timer or anything, but I want you to list for the top 3 things that are important to you as you start a community. And I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that were important to me as I started my Facebook community for AI prompting for entrepreneurs. As you know, this course is largely based on that, on all the questions I've gotten. Jonathan, how did you build a community of 300 and almost 50,000 people in 22 months? And we're going to share with you everything I've done. I want to be clear. I can't promise you're going to build the same size community or as engaged community, but I'm going to tell you everything I've done so that you can make the choices and do what you want. So while I'm talking, if you guys would start thinking top 3 things you're looking for when you build a community. Mine were easy. First and foremost, I wanted to build an easy, no friction way for people to become part of my sphere of influence, so to speak. I wanted people to be able to get to know me in a very low risk, free way. That meant free, no cost to them. And that meant on a platform they were already on, and there'd be very little friction for them to join. That was my first goal. My second goal was to build trust. I wanted to have a community that I could build trust in, that I could share expertise and be able to build trust. And why did I want to build trust? Well, I wanted to build trust because my third goal was to try to monetize that community. Now, I'll be really candid. We didn't even talk about monetizing the community until after we'd had it for over a year. So I don't necessarily recommend that you monetize day one. You can, but we'll talk about the pros and cons. And that's one of the reasons I want you to put down your top 3 goals, because that's going to determine the platform that I recommend for you and how you choose it and go from there. And I'm going to share kind of each one of those with you and my thoughts as we go along. I know we have people in the group here today that are using all of the platforms, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Kajabi, School, High Level across the board. So you'll be able to get some perspective of where that is. If you'd throw in the chat your top 3 reasons, and I'm going to pick a couple of you. Again, mine, one, I wanted very low friction way for people to find me, to get in what I called my sphere of influence. Number 2, I wanted to build credibility with them essentially by giving away things of value. And 3, I wanted to create a community that I could monetize. Those were my 3 goals. And so I'd love to know what your 3 goals are. I'm just going to go through and pick on a couple of them. So I see Carl's got one here. Carl, planning, engagement, and retention. Carl, if you don't mind, would you mind if I bring you up on screen a minute? And could you share a little bit about that with me, Carl?
Sounds good.
Carl, I know, has
Can you hear
always
me
got a good
okay?
word to say. So, Carl, yeah, tell me your 3 goals. Help me understand when you say planning, engagement, and retention. What does that mean to you, Carl?
Well, when you're planning something out, you want to, all the things that you had already stated, like the trust and the authority and those
Yep.
kinds of things. Of course, those are kind of the knowns. And planning, I think, when we start thinking about our target audience, when we think about how we're going to engage them and how we're going to retain them, I tend to look at the macro view and then break it down into its constituent components. So I take more of a systematic approach to, okay, let's plan the community. What kind of community do I want to build? What types of things do I want to do to engage the community? What types of resources am I going to provide for them, whether they're free? The paid ones come later, but I like the approach that Mark Zuckerberg used, when he started Facebook. I think if you ever see The Social Network, the movie, there was no advertisements done until he had built a large community. So that's
Correct.
kind of my approach. Uh, what kind of value is really important to me? So the planning is really important, and where people are on the kind of the frame. Are they beginners? Are they intermediate? Or are they advanced? And of course, I can expand on that more. I hope that helps.
That does. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you not minding joining me on the call. That's great. A couple others that I see here, ease of use for the owner and the user. The ownership aspect, Steve shared he really wants ownership. That's important. So JR said, trust, educate, growth, and monetize. I see Sandy, she's looking at a target group as women over 60, and Facebook's not the, or is the only way, even though some are not, and we can talk about that. Free and paid areas, Stephen's talking about gamification. So these are all really important things to understand. And I'm going to, by the way, before you go, oh my gosh, Jonathan, I didn't know we were at all these choices we had to make before we did something. I'm going to share with you a custom GPT here in just a moment. I'm going to show you how it works. I've created a custom trained GPT that's going to walk you through your community launch and help you think of it as your personalized consultant every step of the way. And I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. But we need to have that first part figured out because while we're going to talk about content, and Carl made a really important point, in fact, and what I'm going to recommend, and that's that you model what Mark Zuckerberg did. Build your community before you monetize it because everybody's got something to sell. But if you can provide value to them without them taking any risk, that means you're providing it for free for right now. You will build a much larger community that you can at some point in the future, like Mark Zuckerberg did, monetize that community to make that and have it be valuable. I've done the same thing. I won't pull any punches. My living now is made on the offerings, the paid offerings like this course that I offer to my community, my masterminds and things like that. You guys may have different ways that you do that, but I'm convinced that I started off day one and told everybody that, okay, this you have to pay for stuff. We'd have a community of about 35 or 40 people and not a lot more. But by growing that community with value first, the same thing I'm going to recommend to you, the same thing Mark Zuckerberg did, I think you'll be able to find you can grow your community and you'll then know when it's the right time to monetize it. So great stuff in the chat. By the way, thank you everybody for participating. That makes that so much better. Suzanne King pointed out something I also want to point out that I don't know that we always think about when we're building a community. Suzanne just mentioned that she wants to give people other people to meet, to build a community. And while we're talking about online communities, we often think about online communities for what's in it for us. That's human nature. But I want to point out that building that community is one of the things that will bring value to the community. And as you guide that community as the leader of the community, you will add tremendous value to your audience based on the community that you create as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and before I share the link, I'm just going to share my screen and show you because I'd like you guys to take a look at this before I share it. I know if I share it, everybody will immediately go, what's Jonathan saying? I don't care. I want to use this GPT. So we're going to go ahead and walk through it for a minute first. It's called Community Launch Pro. By the way, this has been trained on more training data than I have ever used in any other GPT I've ever done. Not that you guys probably care, but it was an interesting tidbit. There is so much training data in this. If, by the way, you guys run into any issues, please let me know. You are the first people that have ever seen this outside of Whitebeard Strategies. We've tested it. We believe it's really solid, but there's always that possibility. If you run into something, let me know. So really simple. If you're familiar with my GPTs, when we get started with this, by the way, the purpose is to help you plan, launch and grow your community right through this one tool. Just literally click start. That's all you need to do. You don't need to go and do anything else. And this is, by the way, will be your homework for tonight. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to be setting up the community. Tonight, your homework will be to go through this and do some planning so that tomorrow we can set the community up. And then we'll be talking Thursday all about content and other things like that. So it's going to begin by asking you some questions. Now, one of the things that I know always comes up is, Jonathan, when you did this in the lesson, the questions were different, the responses were different than when I got it. Why is that? And I want to address that really quickly. This is designed to be dynamic, meaning that it's designed to ask you questions that are relevant to you. And that means that even the first question sometimes may be different based on what ChatGPT knows about you and all that. So your questions and responses may be slightly different. That's okay. It's using the same knowledge in order to build that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see where we're at. So let me know your goals so we can build the best strategy for you. So I'm going to go ahead and act like I'm starting a new AI community just so we can work this through the entire 3 days. So the first question it says is what aspect of community building you're on. So we're going to say, I'm starting, actually, we'll do this the way I've learned is so much better. I'm just going to say it. So those of you who wonder what's going on next, I actually am going to use the dictation feature on my computer so you don't have to watch me stumble while I type because otherwise that takes so long. So here we go. The community I'm building is brand new, and I need advice on launching that. It is going to be a brand new community, and I would like to monetize it, but not until after I've grown the community to a sizable number of members. My goals are to give an easy way for people to connect with me and allow me to have or get them in my sphere of influence. My second goal is to add value to them so that I can build my credibility. And the third is to, at the appropriate time in the future, monetize this. This entire community will be based on AI and AI prompts. So that's the type of answer you can give it. Just give it all whatever relevant information you've got. I see a couple of you guys are asking for the link. I will give you the link here in a minute. I have not shared that yet. For those asking about the dictation, I'm on a Mac, so I literally just can do that automatically by programming a button under the dictation feature in system settings. You can also do it on a PC, but I find that it's a great way to interact with AI because AI is a natural language model, and this allows you to speak naturally that it's good. So based upon this, it's come back and said, all right, you're going to build a brand new community. It's kind of summarizing it. Here's my recommended launch strategy. And you can see it's still working through this. Pre-launch, it wants me to define my unique value proposition. What makes this AI community different? Will it focus on expert level prompts, business applications, ethics, or something else? Choosing the right platform. That's where we started. Options like Circle, Facebook groups, Discord, School, and there's tons more that we could talk about. Then creating a content roadmap. That's that 30-day plan, by the way, I spoke to you guys about. We're going to create on day 3, that 30-day plan for you of content and what to do, because the last thing you want to do is wake up on Friday and go, I have this brand new community. What do I post? So we're going to be able to put that in place. Then the soft launch, which is growing your engaging followers, inviting a core group, engagement. I'm not going to read through all of this. This is the process, and it's recommending that we get at least to 1,000 active members before we do try to monetize, and then we can include some things. It's even recommended some of those, excuse me, based upon what we've got. I want to point out as we talk about members and groups, there's 2 key numbers. There's the total number of members that you have. And in my group right now, that's just shy of 350,000. And then there's the engaged members that you have. And almost every platform will tell you how many people are engaged. In my case, yours may be different. It's about 1/3. So in any 28-day period, we have about 100,000 engaged users in our community. You may go, oh, well, that doesn't sound good. You have 350,000 members and only 100,000 engaged. That's part of any community. You're always going to have that. But I point that out because some of the decisions that you make aren't just going to be based on the total number of members you have, but are going to be based on the number of active members that you have all the way through. So what I want you to do, and again, I'm going to share it. So everybody's wondering, where is this link? How do I access it? Everybody get ready. I'm going to post it in the group. This will, by the way, be on the replay and everything else. And this is our community launch GPT. So let me type that in here a minute. All right. I'm pressing enter. Everybody ready to copy it? 3, 2, 1, done. There, it's in the chat. You guys have it. We'll share that later, guys, so don't worry about it. But your homework for tonight is I want you to walk through, and we're going to continue a couple more questions here to help you with that. But I want you to walk through this, and I want you to plan to get to the point that you can figure out what platform you need to be on. Because tomorrow we're going to talk about setting up that platform and going with it. And any of the choices you make, by the way, are okay. There isn't necessarily a wrong choice. Don't stress about it. In fact, let me make it easy. If you go through this in Launch Pro and you can't figure out what community you want, just start with a Facebook group. Why? Because it's easy, it's free, and you can always move down the road. But if you have the opportunity to think it through and you know where you're at, and this is a big part of your business, then don't let the fact that it's a paid community option scare you away from some of the other options. So let's talk through these just a little bit. And again, you guys should have all received, by the way, we used Google's brand new deep research tool yesterday to create a research document, 20 some pages on comparing and contrasting the major tools that didn't do all of that. You guys all should have got that by email. If you did not, let me know and I will resend that to everybody, but everybody should have gotten that one. What I want to do though first is I want to take a look at a couple of these tools for you so that you can just see what it is that we're talking about before. And more than anything else, I'm just going to pull up the main websites so that you can take a look at them. Let me share my screen here a minute. I do not endorse any of these. I only have an affiliate link for one of them, and I won't push you guys to go that way. I want you guys to pick what makes the most sense for you. And now I need to figure, there's my screen. There we are. So this is one called Kajabi. So Kajabi is spelled with a J. It's Kajabi. And we can find out if we want to find out what Kajabi is good for. I'm just going to actually start a new chat here in Community Launch Pro and say, tell me, tell me what types of communities Kajabi is best suited for. And I'm going to fix the spelling because I got that wrong. And it's going to go ahead and give us some information here and tell us based upon its information and how it was trained, what it's best suited for. So Kajabi is one of them, and it's one that you may want to consider. Another that most of us are familiar with is called School. School is another great community. I have a community in School. This happens to be my entrepreneur mastermind. I only have one community in School, but it is a great place to be. Let me see if I can get out of that and go to the main page. Nope, it's going to just go back. So we'll log out here real quick so you guys can see what the School looks like when you go here. So this is what School looks like when you get to School. There we go. That's what you're going to see when you go to School. And again, School is also a great community, has a lot of things going for it. And we can go and find out what School's about and say, how about School? And I would encourage you to go through this same type of exercise if you have time to learn about which of these seem to fit best for you. This is not, again, been made biased to do anything. It's going to just use the information that's out there to let you figure out. The other one we've talked about is Facebook groups. I won't show you that one. The one that I use and that you guys may be familiar with is Go High Level or a GHL. And let me see if I can find the, we can go to another tab here a minute. Sorry, guys. We'll leave the School one up while I go find the tab. Got too many things going on here. Got to move my windows around. Sorry about that. And I will open that one up over here. I'm going to actually show you a community in High Level, just so you guys can see what a community looks like. If you guys are in our group, this is not our group, by the way, but this will look very familiar with you. For those of you that are wondering, one of the things I'm going to share with you, you may go, hey, on Jonathan, this is AI Prompts for Entrepreneurs. Isn't your Facebook group AI Prompts for Entrepreneurs? Yes, it is. But because of some of Facebook's issues, especially as we've become a large group, we are actually opening up a free high-level group of the same name that we're putting a ton of resources in. Why? I'll be totally candid with you. I'm worried I'm going to wake up some morning and Facebook is going to decide I've violated their terms of service, for what reason they will never tell me, and that my community will be shut down. So, is that a real risk? I don't know. Maybe I'm paranoid, but it's not one I'm willing to risk. So, this is High Level and often referred to as GHL. You can do that same thing and you can ask in Community Launch Pro about that. Another one that's super popular is called Circle. And there we go. Oops, I don't want to hit on the sponsored ones. Oh, there we go. This is what Circle looks like. All of these, again, are very similar in the way they work and will give you different options. And then we have the Facebook group, we have the LinkedIn group. You can even do something like create your own community in Discord if you wanted to, or a chat tool like that. I don't really recommend that. It's probably not the way you're going to get the most engagement. I highly recommend you consider either a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, or one of these four platforms. Again, Circle, High Level, School, or Kajabi. Those are probably some of the best ones out there. There are some others that are good. I don't want to say these are the only ones, but if you're getting started, I think this is a great way to go ahead and get started with that platform and pick the one that you want. And you may be going, Jonathan, why all this talk about platforms? Well, we're going to be doing a lot of work over the next 30 to 90 days to build this platform and build this community. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to go, darn it, I wish I would have known that and I would have picked a different platform. So I think it's really important that we take some time today to try to pick the platform that we think is best for the community that we want to build. So I'm going to share with you why I chose the communities that I did. Does not mean that you guys are going to have the same thing. So the reason I chose Facebook to start off with, if you remember, my primary goal was I wanted to provide a very seamless, low friction way for people to get involved or to get into what I call my sphere of influence, to be in an area where maybe they'd have a chance to listen to me. Because if I'm just on Facebook on my page talking, there's how many millions of different Facebook pages out there. There's no easy way to do that. By forming a group, I can now form an interest in an area that we have in common, and it's much easier to pull people that have something of interest in and then start sharing value and building my brand as a result of that. I debated between two platforms when we got started, Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. And I determined based upon my target audience, something else that you will want to ask in the custom GPT and that I encourage you to ask yourself is who is the audience you're trying to reach? Who do you want in your group? Because that may determine where you are. I determined that more of my audience was on Facebook than they were on LinkedIn, and at least they were on Facebook more frequently. And so I chose to build a Facebook group versus a LinkedIn group. And I'm very pleased overall with that decision, by the way. So those are the reasons that I did that. Now you may say, Jonathan, but you're moving to high level. Why are you doing that? And I want to be, again, totally transparent. I'll answer any questions you guys have. I'm now moving to high level for two reasons. One, we've used it as a marketing automation platform for the last 3 to 4 years. So my team knows it well. I know it well. It's very easy to use. So that was a big part of it. I have a school community and I've only been kind of so impressed with it. It's not bad, but I haven't been as impressed with it. Here's the real reason that drove me to choose high level dollars and cents. High level is $97 a month. That's about the same cost as Kajabi and about the same cost as school and everything else. The difference is, based on my understanding, in those other platforms, I have to pay more money every month for every community that I have. And at the moment, I have about a dozen communities in addition to the big free one on Facebook. And so simple a school where they're $99 a piece. I didn't want to spend $1,200 a month if I didn't have to. And with high level, I can spend $97 a month and have an unlimited number of communities. And so that was behind that. All right, with that, we're going to answer some questions and we'll definitely do a little bit more here, but we're going to answer some questions. Elena, you've been very patient. What is on your mind and how can we help you today? Oh, Elena, you're muted. Could you unmute, please?
Hi, good morning.
There we
How's it
go.
going? I wanted to know if anyone has the self-scribe snippet in your settings in ChatGPT. Should we have that on before we start this custom GPT or just have it without?
It's not going to matter much at this point in time. When we talk about content down the road that may be relevant, but for this part, good question, not something that's going to be necessary right now because it's really going to ask you all the questions that you need to ask about kind of next steps and everything else. So good
Okay,
question, Elena.
thank
No,
you.
appreciate that. All right, Laura, you are next. Laura Southerly, what is on your mind, Laura?
I was just curious regarding, I know where my persona tends to be as business owners, which would be LinkedIn, but the people that they may ask to actually implement any of the tools and tips and tricks that I like to provide would be more likely to be on Facebook. So would it be better to go after their team members or the managers in those key positions or introduce the concepts to the business owners in LinkedIn?
Really good question and not an easy answer. I wish I could go, oh, that's simple. It's not an easy answer. I had kind of the same thing. So my audience, just to define it, is basically entrepreneurs and small and medium business owners and leaders. Obviously, most of those people are on LinkedIn. So I could have easily chose LinkedIn. But in doing research, I found out those people were also on Facebook and they spent more time on Facebook. And because I wanted, again, one of my goals was to make this as easy as possible for them to join my goal. That meant no friction if I could avoid it. And nowadays, when I started in 2023, options like School and Kajabi and High Level, they were not as well known back then. That was almost 2 years ago. And so asking somebody to go join a free community on School, which is probably what I would have chosen at that point in time, was a much bigger ask than asking them to join a community on Facebook. Because guess what? They're already sitting around in their bathrobe on the sofa on Facebook on their phone, and so it's easy to join a Facebook community because they're already there. They're checking on their kids, their grandkids. My audience tends to be 35 to 65-year-old adults, pretty evenly split between men and women. Well, when you look at the demographics, most of them are using Facebook. So that made sense. They're also using LinkedIn, but they're not using it as much according to my study. And that's why I chose to build it out on Facebook because I wanted that first step to be easy. Now, fast forward 2 years, almost 2 years, we're 22 months after I started. Today, I don't know that I would have made the same decision because most of the audience that I'm working with is very familiar with School and probably has heard of Kajabi and other things like that. So going to an off-site community, as long as when they go there, it looks good and is branded well, and we'll talk about some of those things in the next couple of days, that isn't a sticky point, so to speak, like it was 2 years ago. So that has absolutely changed. But I still think the question is worth asking and your goal, where's your audience spending the most of their time? My gut for you, Laura, says it's probably Facebook.
I, I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I was just again thinking where my decision makers are, but I think that the managers can take it and say, "Hey, look what I found," etc. So that's very
Yeah,
helpful. Thank you.
that's my guess. All right. Let's see. Sandy Martinez, you are next. What's on your mind, Sandy?
Hi, it's a backup question. So I have a Facebook community of women 60 plus. They're all on Facebook. I've tried to get them to go off Facebook somewhere else, but they're afraid to and they don't.
Mm.
But so my question is, besides backing it up with having emails for these people, is there another way to have a backup? So if something happens with Facebook, I'm protected.
Great question, and it's one of the big questions that we had, Sandy, and why we're making changes. So, Facebook will not allow you to require them to necessarily give you an email address when they sign up. I don't think you can require it. Maybe you can. Let me take that back. So, two things. You can either make that required, or what you can do is you're growing your group is in order to do that, you can actually have a sign up form, like maybe through a Google form or something like that, where they go to fill the form out. You request their email address as part of that registration, that, so to speak, application to become part of your group. And then as soon as they are approved, you invite them to the group on Facebook. A little bit more work on your part, but candidly, until the group starts to grow really rapidly, probably very manageable. So yeah, your point though, Sandy, is well taken. You want to try to get the email addresses, no matter what platform you're using, you want to try to get those. Even School, for example, if you don't ask for the email when they register, you won't get the email from School. It's one of the things I don't like about the platform. Overall, it's a great platform. But one of the things I don't like, because I didn't know when I started my first School community, was that I needed to ask members to give me their email. I just assumed if they're giving you a credit card, I'm going to be able to get the email. Nope, School won't give that to you. And School will only let you message your community so many times per week. I believe it's twice. So if I'm doing events and I want to send reminders out that a lot of my communities asked for, I may not be able to do that depending on what other things I've done. So again, does that mean School's bad? No, but your point is well taken. In your intake process, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but in your intake process, you want to design that in a way to capture as much information from the people that are signing up for your group. And I want to encourage you, that doesn't mean you need to use the group's way to get them there. So for example, you can have a private group on Facebook, you can be promoting it, and you can have them go to a Google form or something like that to give you information in order to get access. So
That's
great
really
question about that.
well. The
Awesome.
thing about Facebook, even though I ask for their email address, if I don't capture it when I allow them in the group, I can't go back and get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
that's
the
a
the
hassle.
The one nice thing about it, I ask in my free group, I ask them if they would like it in order to get additional free resources. So I basically incent them, and I can always go back and find that in their record because I can see that what they've answered.
Okay.
And that's another strategy that we'll talk about. Even if you don't get it, maybe you want to grow the group, then give them reason to give you and part with that email address down the road. So really
Great.
good question.
Thank you.
All right, Kate, you are next. Kate Young, what's on your mind, Kate?
So I already have a Facebook group. Does it make more sense to start a new one or try to re-engage an existing one that's got about 700 members?
If you've got 700 members, how engaged and how active are you on there right now, Kate?
Me or them?
Them. How active is the group, I want to say? Yeah, how active is the group?
It kind of depends on the week and the topic. So they're a niche market entrepreneurs. And so sometimes some weeks they're really active, other weeks it could go weeks or months before they
At
say anything.
700 members, I don't think there's any impending doom out there. I will tell you that
Okay.
I didn't really run into any hassles with Facebook until I got over 50,000 members. That's
Well,
when
I was
all of a
just wondering
sudden,
if with this concept, if maybe you'll talk about it on day 3 as far as growing, if it makes more sense to start new versus going with an existing.
I could go either way. I can make both arguments on that, Kate.
Okay.
It's not, unfortunately, it's not one of those. It's just absolutely cut and dried. And keep in mind, if you choose Facebook, there's nothing wrong with that. But then you may want to do what we're doing. So, for example, we're announcing it maybe this week. You guys may see it in our Facebook group this week. We're actually announcing that all of the trainings that we do and all of the free stuff that we give away is all going to be located in our high level community. Why? Because then you have to join through the high level community and I get your email address. I'm being blatantly honest. That's exactly why I'm doing it. Now we've got 350-ish thousand people on the main group. My goal is to get 20,000 of those people to move over to high level. I don't, maybe I'll be blown away and it'll be more, maybe not, but my goal is to get 20,000 of them to move to high level. And if I can do that, I'll be really happy. We'll see what happens. You guys will be able to watch as we go along, but you're never like stuck in an option. So if you've got a group now and you don't think they're going to move, then I would wait. And we're going to talk about adding a secondary group for the exact purpose that I've done to move people, because ultimately our goal here is typically to create an asset that our business can use. And that asset is the way to reach out and touch base with them, because all those people have raised their hand and said they're interested in whatever it is that you're doing. So
Okay.
hopefully
Great.
that makes
Jonathan,
sense.
you have
Yes,
people
go.
asking, since you since you opened the curtain and showed that there is a group on high level, people are asking for the link. Now, I know it's not open yet because you haven't approved my request.
Yeah, it is not. Yes.
So I'm
I'll do this. I will put the link in the group. We have not announced this publicly. Okay. No one has got this publicly. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the group. You guys can do it. I'm going to ask one huge favor. Please do not ask me tomorrow why you're not in the group yet. Everybody that applies will get in for free, but we haven't opened it to the public yet. And Sherry, who's on my team, isn't even in it yet, as a give example. So I'm going to share that though. Just please be patient with me. Our plan, I talked to my team this morning. Our plan is to launch it this week, but you will all get approved. So my big disclaimer, yes, I'll share it. I opened the curtain. Oops, shouldn't have done that. But here we go. AI prompts for entrepreneurs on GHL. And there is the link. So if you guys click that link, it will not let you in, but you can request membership. And I will absolutely make sure that you get in the day it launches and that I announce it. You will be the first in that group. So thank you for that. Clay, you can ask tomorrow. I should have known that was Clay that was asking. Geez, Clay. Sorry, I'm beating up on Clay because I know Clay. That's all right. I broke it too many requests. There's always that possibility that could happen too. We'll come back, but that's that. So yeah, so we've got that in there. Good questions. All right, next is Dee Dee. Dee Dee, what's on your mind?
I was muted. Sorry about that. Nice
That's
job,
okay.
guys.
No problem.
I appreciate the information today. The question that I had, I put it in the chat, but part of the reason why I like Facebook groups as a user is I stumble across interesting groups, right? Access. It's very low bar, very easy.
It is.
It's right in your face. But I would have to imagine that the second you take a group offline and move them to a third-party surface, it's not as in the user's face, right? Like they're probably doom scrolling Facebook and may get reminded you exist if you have a Facebook group. But if you're offline, it feels like that's less exposure. So how does engagement rates really on average compare between like Facebook groups and any other group? Obviously, groups offline can some be more successful than others, but just as an average, are groups
Fabulous
that are in a
question.
different surface? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, and this is part of the trade-off. You will get more control on a non-Facebook group, something on school or Kajabi or Circle or on high level, but your engagement's going to drop. I anticipate, just so everyone knows, like when we move and announce the new the new AI prompts on high level group, we are not going to stop putting content on our Facebook group. And the reason is exactly what Dee Dee just talked about. It's still probably for my target audience, it's the easiest, least friction way to get people into my sphere of influence. So we're not going to really change anything there. It's all going to be there. We're going to continue to add value. And Dee Dee, your question there is so spot on. And that is that when you move off, you are going to get less engagement. Suzanne King's on here, and she's got some of the best school groups I've been on. I'm going to bring Suzanne on in a moment to help me answer that question because not only has Suzanne got a bunch of school groups, but she's brilliant, so she can probably help me answer that. Suzanne, there's my warning. I'm going to go ahead and bring you on here. Help me answer that question from your perspective. If you don't mind, we'll come back to your question in a minute. But you've got school groups and you've done an amazing job with them. How would you compare the engagement and stuff as it relates to that, Suzanne?
Well, anytime you're taking people off of the platform that they're familiar with, and I always use this analogy that imagine the preset buttons in your car
Mm.
for the stereo, right? You only get five: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and maybe Twitter or whatever. And anytime you're not going with one of those presets, it's only for your most engaged or paying members. Or like you have this huge community on Facebook. It's entirely possible to take your most engaged people and have a really incredible off Facebook, 10, 20, 30,000 people
Well,
with what you
and
want.
yeah, and you guys may have heard me say my goal was to move 20,000 people, literally in just a pittance of not even 10% of the group over. And that is because I know that not everybody's super engaged. So I think, Suzanne, that's a really good point. You can move your super engaged people there, and you're going to get a more Dee Dee, to answer your question, you're probably going to get a more engaged community as far
Mhm.
as the users. You're going to end up with less crap to deal with. We're going to talk tomorrow and Thursday about managing things and things that you shouldn't do that Facebook doesn't want you to do, like banning users when they do stuff you don't want them to do. They really irritates Facebook when you do that. But you're going to get a lot more spam that you have to deal with, most likely, Dee Dee, on the Facebook group, just because there's more people there and it's less filtered. But hopefully that makes sense as we talk through that. You're going to get a lot of engagement, but it's going to be a little bit different. Does that make sense, Dee Dee? Am I answering your question? Okay.
It's exactly, yeah, honestly, it's kind of exactly what I was anticipating. But I just wanted to make sure because I was kind of prejudiced against even thinking about it because of my own browsing habits. But it sounds like my own browsing habits would be comparable to what you'd expect. And thank you. It was
Yeah.
perfect. I appreciate it.
No, no problem. Great question. So, summary, if you want to build your group and you want to add members, and that's an important part, that membership number, then you want to probably build on Facebook or LinkedIn because you're going to build a bigger group. I will be, again, you guys know me well enough. I'm really transparent on these. One of the reasons I'm building my group on Facebook is because I get more speaking engagements because I have 300 plus thousand people on a group. I get on more podcasts. It's something unique that I can talk about that gets people's attention. There's no doubt that's part of the reason I'm building that community there. So doesn't mean I want to add any less value, but that's part of it. That's one of those, that's probably reason number four that I wanted to build a community. All right, next after that, we've got Edward. Edward, what is on your mind?
Hey, Jonathan. I had a question in regards to naming your group because obviously I found your group organically they just searching through Facebook. I'm a notorious group joiner, and then I decide if it's valuable, and then I, quickly exit it if it's
I
not. So I'm
resemble that. Yes.
notoriously like going through hundreds of groups and trying to find, like-minded people and good value and all of that. So when you named your group, how much, I guess, stock, like if you were giving it like a, 10%, 50%, 100%, like how much of your effort or, I guess thought went into naming the group? Because obviously AI prompts for entrepreneurs is trendy. It's hip. It hits a lot of the, factors that
Mm-hmm.
are trending right now. Me personally being a quote unquote entrepreneur, I never call myself that. Like I kind of hate that word. So I would get caught up in naming my group that, but obviously it's worked quite well for you. I just, from an organic standpoint, like what kind of stock are you putting into the name? Like how did you come up with that? Did you have a technique for researching that or coming up with that? And how much of the name do you, or how much of your success in growing the group do you attribute to the name and, again, organically being found? I found you that way. I didn't know of you before that.
I think that was part of it. There's no doubt. I wanted to grow organically when I started the group, Edward, and so I tried to pick a name that was very descriptive of what the group was, versus calling it Jonathan's AI group. I wanted to think, okay, who is my audience? Basically, entrepreneurs. Most of you didn't know me then, but literally, as I was launching the group, I put a post out to all of my basically on my personal page and said, if you own a business, if you're a business leader, would you consider yourself an entrepreneur? If I used that word, would you identify with that? And like 90% of the people came back and said, oh yeah, absolutely. I consider myself an entrepreneur. That was part of it, is I chose what word to put in there because I was debating, is it AI prompts for small business? Is it AI prompts for business? Is it AI prompts for marketing? And one of the reasons I chose entrepreneur is I wanted to have a word that my audience would see and go, oh, that's me. And so, yeah, I definitely put some thought into it. We used to call it AI/Chat GPT prompts for entrepreneurs. And we actually just recently changed the name. And the reason was based entirely out of fear. I don't normally operate out of fear, but a rumor came down the mill through some other group owners that I'm part of that Facebook, because of their new Meta product, was actually cracking down on groups that had the name ChatGPT. Doesn't make any sense, but there's a whole lot of things that Facebook does that don't make any sense. And instead of risking it, I just immediately removed ChatGPT from the name. So,
Super smart decision because they probably will throttle you because it is a competitor, even if they say they won't.
yeah, you just never know with Facebook. And I'm gonna bash on Facebook a lot as we go through this. I want you to know I still today would probably start the community on Facebook because of how easy it is for people to join. But just know when you start a Facebook group, you are asking for a certain level of frustration that's just there's no way around. It's going to happen. Facebook doesn't have a team to talk to you. Facebook isn't going to tell you anything whatsoever about anything. So just be aware of that as we go across. Good question, Edward. I appreciate it. Mike
Thank
Paul,
you.
you're up next. What's up? What's up, Mike?
Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm
Hey,
well, thank you.
good. So I've launched a group, a business group. I do have a personal page that I've got a pretty large following on. So I'm trying to get people, try to figure out best practice to get people to join the group that are already familiar with me from my individual Facebook group. The other thing is, um, the reason I chose Facebook is, if I put out a newsletter on AI
Hmm.
trends and insights for business. I also have a podcast, and so I want to do promotion kind of things to help, bring potential to build my audience, to build that group. I don't know if you clearly can't do that with some of these other platforms, so I thought maybe you can weigh in a little bit about building it through promoted posts and how to get people from, like, if you want to invite, I think Facebook allows you to invite 1,000 people at a time right now to like your page or be a friend of your page. I mean, is there kind of a best practice way to do that?
Are you thinking why a group over a page? Am I understanding right? Or
Okay, so it's okay. So I have a page. Okay, so the group, I guess maybe that may be an issue too. So I formed a page I'm trying to build on. I guess I have to convert that to a group now that I think about that.
Yeah,
I kind of
building out a
assume.
page is very different than building out a group. There's a big difference between the two. A
Okay.
group is going to be better for people that are like-minded, and Facebook is going to promote that more to people that are interested in the topic you're talking about. So that's one of the reasons I
Okay.
recommend that group setting for that purpose, if that makes
And
sense.
so you're creating the group off of your individual account, or
Yes,
do you or you
correct.
just
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
my professional and my business accounts, I have both, are admins of my group so that I have that in there. But I post 99% of it on my personal profile. And that just comes
Hmm.
back to my belief. You guys can do as you please, but I believe that people connect with people, not brands. And not that they don't ever connect with brands, but they connect with people first. So I want people not to see that Whitebeard Strategies and my logo is posting all this content, because I don't think it will connect with them at the same level that it will if I say Jonathan is posting. Same thing in
Well,
your
and
case, Mike.
yeah, yeah, that's the same situation with me. As I'm people connect with me, they don't really know so
Yeah.
much of the page in the group. But okay, so I got a little homework to do here. Thank you.
Does that make sense? Hopefully that was
Yeah, no, it
helpful.
does. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. No, good question. All right, Julie, you are next. What's on your mind, Julie? Julie, are there? Three, two, one. Julie, I don't hear you. So we're going to go next. We're going to go to Jeff. Julie, we will come back if you're still there. Jeff Keen, you're next. What's on your mind, Jeff?
Hi, I wanted to ask about, you discussed earlier knowing the makeup of your group, age, gender, that sort of thing. Uh, that's something that I would like to know for building a process and then replicating that in different markets to find out the demographics, of you will, of the people who are most engaged. Do you have a process for that, or did you build yourself a custom GPT for that, or an agent, or how do you do that? How do you mine that information accurately before
Yep,
going in and building a community?
I'm going to share with you a, custom GPT that we recently created for that. It's an
Oh, thank you.
ICP one. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Don't let me forget, Jeff. I may have to come back here a minute, as it may not pop up as quickly as I want it to. I've got to go find it here in the midst of my GPTs. Some of you may realize, and may have run this later, they have really messed up recently, um, their what I want to say, their custom GPT menu. So all my GPTs that I had saved are now like all gone and all in
Hmm.
different spots. So it's gotten to be much, much harder to find it. But let me see real quick if I can find that. I'll share that with everybody. What
Well,
this is it's an interview process that it's going to take you through to really help identify who your ideal customer profile is and who they are. So let me just take a quick look here. There it is. Found it.
so if I could follow up real quick, Jonathan,
Yeah.
um, all the pestering I've been doing to you about the AI agent class, and I apologize if I'm getting under your skin with that, but
No, you're not at all.
um, the the big driver of that was for market research, and now I'm thinking, was I barking up the wrong tree? Is that not what I needed? I would just like a replicatable process, if you will, of marching into an unknown market, finding out what makes up that market and what their interests are, and then using that to bring a product to that market.
I think you will find this ICP Navigator that I just shared really valuable in that process.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to encourage you, even if you've been in business for a while and are doing it, Suzanne and I have had this discussion, I don't know how many times, even though sometimes you think you've got your poop in a group and everything's going the way you want,
Hmm.
sometimes going back through and reevaluating these things can really help shed light in some areas that you hadn't thought of. We often get so busy on a day-to-day basis with exactly what's going on in our business, we forget some of these. So don't necessarily go, oh, Jonathan, I've been in business for 3 years. I don't need that ICP. You might be amazed what you'd come up with. I know I was, and I know Suzanne has been a couple times as well. All right, we're gonna go back to Julie. Julie, are you there? If you are,
We don't see the
Wait,
share in the camera.
wait, hold on one sec.
what's the matter?
You just said ICP Navigator Custom
Yep,
GPT,
It's
which
not
that's
in
is
what I
the
not
shared.
chat.
as no,
That's not what I shared.
no.
Oh,
You
I see.
shared
No, hang on. It went direct to Jeannie Beckett because Jeannie had sent me a
yeah.
default or a message
I mean,
and Zoom.
Yeah,
There we
I can
go.
share it.
I
Okay,
did.
got it.
There we
I
go.
just want to make sure because
No,
people are
no, it's
like,
good.
what?
Thank you for calling me on that. That was one of those Zoom fun things that all of a sudden went in the wrong area. So yeah, feel free to use that, guys. I think you'll find it valuable. I know I did. I literally did. All right, Suzanne, we're back to you. Suzanne, what is on your mind?
So I'm curious about this idea. I noticed with your group, um, what your group is about is in the title.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how important that is.
I think it depends on the topic. So let me make no bones about it. One of the reasons that I've been able to grow my group is because I chose AI at the right time. It was a timing
Mm,
issue. There is no doubt in my mind that that is part of my success. I'm, without sounding arrogant, I don't think that's the only reason that it grew. I think the other things that I've done have caused us to build that community. I mean, face it, Suzanne, you and I would not have met had I not started that group.
right,
That's how we met.
right.
So, I think there's some things that have come to play in that matter. Um, but I think my goal was knowing what happens to me. And again, I was on Facebook, so that makes a difference. If you're not on Facebook, the name may not matter at all. But on Facebook, Facebook is recommending groups to me every day when I'm on Facebook and I'm surfing through. And you might like this group. You might like this group. The first thing I see is their graphic and the name of the group. I wanted to make sure, knowing that as a marketer, that's my background for those who don't know me, I wanted to make sure that when that happened, that they didn't have to think for a hot second about what this might be about. I wanted them to go, oh, that's for me because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm interested in AI. I wanted to make that so simple. Again, we talked about no friction. It's one of the reasons I
Mhm.
picked Facebook, because there was very little friction. It was easy. It was on platform. Same reason I chose the name. If you're going school, like I know you've got multiple school groups and you do an amazing job with those. In that context, I don't know that the name matters as much because you're not.
Yeah.
Now, school has the same feature. You can look and browse groups in school and find
Yes, but
groups in
my school
school.
groups are all paid.
And
So,
that, yep, and that, that's a waiting thing. So, for
yeah,
example, like my group in high level, they have the same thing. They have over 10,000 groups there. That means they've got lots and lots of people using them. When I open up the AI prompts group in GHL, I know we'll get people that'll see it for the same reason. But it depends on where they're coming from. You with paid groups, I think it's less important because people already know, like, and trust you before they're putting money into your group, if that makes
right.
sense.
Right.
So,
I just know the numbers with groups, like you said, so my group right now is hovering right under 1,000 members, and which is great. I've met plenty of clients in that group, get plenty of people, but with this idea of scaling, my group program and, workshops like you
yep,
do, I think my most success has come when I partner with other people and get exposed to more people. So ideally, I'd love to have more people in my group, so in the free group on Facebook.
right.
Um, and then, obviously you end up with more people in the lower ticket, membership group or higher ticket offers. And I know the numbers. Like, so I think, you know, 10% convert into a lower ticket, and then 1% of those convert to your higher ticket. So
Hmm.
with that in mind, you want more numbers. So just curious
Absolutely.
if that name really drives, the search on Facebook for a group.
If people are searching, I think it does because they're probably putting in keywords. So yes, I
Mhm.
do think it drives it. I don't have empirical data to prove that. Secondarily, again, knowing how Facebook shows their groups to other people, I think it's
Mhm.
relevant. And that same would apply if you're doing a free group on school or a free group on GHL or others, because most of those other platforms still do provide you with like a catalog of groups that people can search through. The
Yeah.
difference in those is that, if I'm on school, I've got to search for that. If I'm on Facebook, Dee Dee mentioned this. I'm just scrolling away, I'm doom scrolling, and all of a sudden, oh, what's this? It recommends this group. There's more of an interrupt there. And if you're looking to build numbers, if your audience is on Facebook, I think it's really hard to beat Facebook as that first step in the process. And you bring up something really good, Suzanne, and it's worth mentioning to everybody. This group that we're building here may not be your only group and may not be your ultimate goal. My Facebook group is not how I make money. I mean, the Facebook group itself doesn't pay me anything. In fact, I have multiple staff members that I pay to manage that Facebook group. But I do that because I can then build trust with the members of that Facebook group, like I've done with literally everybody on this call. And that, as a result, allows me to build my audience and move some of those members into paid programs at that point in time. So, yes, again, I do think Facebook makes sense for a lot of people in that circumstance. And yes, long answer, I do think the way you name it matters. I would, as you're working back with the custom GPT that I shared on the community builder, make sure as you're going back to that, you're asking it to think of that as well, because a lot of people are going to find your group at first through that exact process we talked about in seeing it suggested to them as they're scrolling through something else that they're doing. So I definitely think that makes a difference. So good question. Thank you, Suzanne. All right, Felicia Jackson, you are up next. What's on your mind, Felicia?
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for answering my question. So first question, when I looked at GH High Level, it looks like they have tons of different options for us. So with the $97, you can get the group, but it also offers you a website and it offers you landing pages, and it's a bit overwhelming. And I feel like I already own some of those things. Like, how do you help manage like the overwhelm from that and what we really need versus all the bells and whistles?
Really good question. So I may irritate some people that on here that sell GHL. I would not use GHL for my website. Not saying it's terrible, but if you've got one, there's better platforms. GHL started as a marketing automation system. That means it was designed as a very simple CRM. And then it does a great job of things like email drip campaigns and landing pages and automations for marketing purposes. So, for example, when you guys subscribed to this course, you went to a landing page that I had on GHL. You then subscribed and paid your $97 that went through Stripe that was connected through GHL. As soon as that happened, GHL knows that. And then I wrote in a welcome email that went out to everybody automatically. So I didn't need to, all 300 and some people, I didn't need to manually do that. Then yesterday or the day before, when I came up with this new guide that I shared out, that again, everybody should have, comparing all the platforms, I didn't have to go out and manually send that. I just went into the automation flow and said, okay, I'm going to add that next. And then I'm going to change the wait state that everybody was on. So everybody that was waiting for today's hour reminder got it. And then we kept that in there so that everybody that signed up after I did that, which was about noon yesterday, they still got that. So it allowed me to do things once and have it happen multiple times. That's really the value of GHL. And part of the reason I like the groups in there, personal only, I'm familiar with it, I know it, and I can bring those automations together. For example, when you join this community here, I was automatically able to give you access to the challenge community because it's on GHL. So I could just, all of that could happen automatically. And that to me makes my life easier and hopefully makes it easier for you. And so that's one of the reasons I chose that. But there are a lot of things it does. We could probably spend literally a 3-day class just training you on what GHL does. It's that in depth. If it does what you need and it's a good price point, then it's worth considering. School does a lot more than I use it for. Kajabi does far more than I use it for. Could do. So they're all good platforms in different areas. Memberships and communities that we're talking about are just one aspect of that they have. So I hope that makes sense. But do your best to pick the one that makes sense for you based on where you're at. And if you've got questions, ask in the community, and I'll be happy to share my perspective. Go back and ask Community Launch Pro, and they can share stuff there as well.
Okay, that sounds good. Are you also, do your courses live there as well? Because
Yes,
if I'm using something like Teachable, Teachable has its own community as well.
Right. And so and there are others that I didn't mention, but yeah, my AI prompting course lives there. I have other courses that live there. And again, to me, it's easy because my team then gets to know one platform and we have one place to go, one place to manage it. In my case, I'm on the $97 a month plan, means I have all of that to me for $97 a month. I don't have to pay for multiple different services to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
No, great question. Glad you asked that. Awesome. All right, Carl, you're back up. What's on your mind, Carl?
Yes, sir. Hey, sounds great. Been enjoying the teaching. Thank you very much. Real quick, too, just to avoid the overwhelm, whether you're dealing with GHL or you're dealing with AI, um, be very cautious in how you move along. Just take what you need right now. Like if you
Great
need
advice.
yeah, like we can get so overwhelmed with all the new tools. Someone just posted 3 to 5 updates a day with GHL. Don't get over, don't get blindsided by the shiny new objects. Take a look at what your business needs to use right now, like the email marketing, even the sales and marketing funnels. Even though you have a website, I personally would not build a website on GHL. There's a number
That's
of
two of
reasons. I
us.
won't get into it. I do want to hear. I just wanted as an aside here, but here's a strategy I was thinking about because I've been in quite a few of your programs, Jonathan, and I'm grateful for them. Uh, but watching how you have built, and now you're migrating a bunch of your community over to another platform for a variety of reasons. What I was thinking, and this would be good for everybody, I think, to think about, is to build a free community on Facebook because it's got the least amount of resistance for people to get
Correct.
involved and check you out. And one of the things that I see you're doing, you used to do, is you used to build a community on Facebook for even the paid programs, and now you're moving them over. So my thought was, hey, build a free community on Facebook. When you offer a paid program, have that paid program hosted on your paid platform, and then you don't have to deal with the migration issues, but it just be part of your business strategy. Take your free
Exa
content.
yep,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
And take your free content that you're already giving that some people say, yeah, but I'm not going to have this free content you're giving me over here. Now I got to be on both platforms. Well, actually, you could have a single module or modules dedicated to the free content that you're also providing on Facebook. That would probably be an easier way to do it. I'm just kind of throwing that in there. What are your thoughts on that, Jonathan?
Well, that's exactly why we're not getting rid of our free community on Facebook. If I was, because again, I want a very low friction way. Think of it as business 101. We're generally building groups out because of the business. I want as many
Mhm.
people, and that Suzanne was talking about, the more people I have, the more those numbers fall through for me as we go down the funnel. And I want as many people in that as I can. That free Facebook group is not going away, probably ever, because it brings people into our sphere of influence. The only
Right.
reason I'm doing the other groups is because I literally am fearful that Facebook could, for its whim, whatever
Hmm.
whim that may be. By the way, if
Yeah.
you've never got banned from Facebook for violating their terms of service and they don't tell you what you violated, just wait. It will happen. It
It's
sometimes
not
happens to me
good.
daily. Sherry can tell you she's had to approve my posts in the group before. Okay. I mean, I'm the group admin and own it, and she's had to approve my post. Facebook is weird, but it is the one of the
Yeah.
best ways. If your audience is there, it's probably the best, least friction way to build an audience. And then you're absolutely right. You move your paid stuff somewhere else. Because once you guys decide to pay $97 for a course, the fact that I don't have it on Facebook is probably not a deciding factor for you at that point. So that's
Right.
exactly what we've tried to do. Really good stuff. Thank you for that. I want to go back to Julie for a minute. Julie had her hand up earlier and she's been having some mic problems. And I saw that in the chat. I don't watch it a lot, but I caught it. Julie says she's got several Facebook groups which are not very active. What's the option, or my opinion, if I use one of those groups that has around 7,000 members and change that over to stem cell health stuff? That's Julie's into health stuff there, so that they have been active for 8 years. There's an entire industry out there, Julie, and everybody, about buying defunct Facebook groups that have members. And the reason that industry exists is because once you're a member of the group, it's very easy to get your attention again. And I know I was just at a mastermind with somebody who does this actually for a living. They buy defunct Facebook groups, they then reinvigorate them. But they don't buy groups about gardening and then try to sell them on small engine repair. They buy groups that are similarly related. And so, Julie, if you have a group of 7,000 members, that's amazing. But if it doesn't have anything to do with the health stuff related to stem cell, I probably would start a new one. If, on the other hand, those 7,000 members are related to what you're doing and may likely have an interest, maybe even only if a third of them do, then I would convert the topic of that group and try to make that group there. I don't think Facebook cares how long your group's been around. That's just my personal opinion. I know nothing. By the way, Facebook will not tell you anything about how they do anything in groups. It's all pretty much secretive. And of the people that I've talked to from Facebook, they claim that even Facebook themselves doesn't necessarily know internally how they're handling stuff. So again, that's not a reason not to go there. Carl made a really good point. It's a great way to do it. But Julie, I hope that answers your question for you. Don, you're next. What's on your mind, Don?
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my question. I'm doing or planning to do a local community Facebook group.
Okay.
And my thought was the last I checked, you couldn't run ads from a group because I wanted to get the word that the county I live in is like 250,000 people. I know
Okay.
all those people aren't on Facebook, but to get the word out quickly, I was wanting to run ads just to let people know it's there. Um, so if I want to run ads, I'm going to have to start a page, correct? Because you can run ads from a page, but not a group.
It's a good question. So you can
It just
run. Yeah, first disclaimer, I am not a Facebook ads expert. I just act like one when I pay the bills every week. And that sword looked really cool, whatever that was. That was cool.
that's my father or something.
Oh, that's
But
all right. He's got to have some fun too, you know. So the with that disclaimer, you cannot run ads as a Facebook group. You'd need to either run them on your business page or your professional page or your personal page profile. And I don't know exactly how all that spins out, but I run ads all the time. My ads are run under my business Whitebeard strategies. I cannot target my group members. So I can't target, if you guys are in my Facebook group, I can't target you with ads. What I can do though is I can create a post in my personal page or my business page. I can share that in a group, and then I can have everybody that interacts with that post added to a target list, if that makes sense. So let's say, for example, that I wrote one of those posts that everybody loves to hate, 7 reasons why you should use AI, and then all the 7 reasons are in the comments. You guys all know that. You all hate those, but we do them. Why? Because they get tons of engagement. If I did one of those on my personal page and I shared it into the group and you commented, you liked it, you hated it, whatever the case was, I can now add you to a targeted list that I can market to, and I can create then lookalike audiences in Facebook, but I can't do it just because you're a member of a group, if that makes sense.
just wonder if I should go through the trouble of making a page. It just seems kind of
You
make a
you
page
need
and
you
push everybody
need
to a group.
the page doesn't really matter because of the fact that if you're pushing people into the group, you can still run ads just under your own name. They'll never actually see all of that information, I don't think, Don. I mean, I'm not an expert there, but I don't think when you see my ad for stuff that I'm running, I don't think that you see like my Whitebeard logo on that. I think it's just pitching whatever I'm pitching. I could be wrong. I'd have to look. But I know there are ways around it. But no, I don't think you need a business page or that. You can literally set up a Facebook ads account on your personal page if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, good question. And for a local group, that can make a lot of sense too. One of the things you want to do when you do that, Don, keep in mind that you can do geographical location as well on that. And so that'll be something you want to consider if you're doing local stuff. All right, Violet, good to see you. I know we've had a couple chats recently. Welcome to the call. What can we do?
Thank you. Thank you. So the timing of this is perfect. I realized the importance of community and starting a group, but I got paralysis analysis and you've helped a little bit, but I was hoping you can walk me through a few things. So I got the name of my group. It's called the Gen X Network. So
Okay.
I want to help Gen X business owners, professionals, leaders innovate how they do sales and marketing. Where I'm getting stuck is I know there's huge Gen X groups with women. And if I had any choice, I'd prefer to work with women, but there's not, I don't know if I'm like limiting myself, like if I should create the free group for Gen Xers and then maybe try to create a paid community more geared towards women. And my question is that legal? Because I've heard of companies out there, if you're focused on women only, they can come in and sue you because it needs to be all inclusive. So that's where I'm getting a little bit stuck.
Fair enough. And I appreciate your honesty in that, sometimes we do get paralysis analysis and we don't do anything. If nothing
Yeah.
else, I hope all of you by the end of this 3 day less or training are at a point where you're ready to take action, even if it's imperfect action, because I will encourage that. That's one of the reasons I've had success. Just to share with everybody to take off that from Violet, is the day I started this, I was literally sitting in my living room. It was cold outside, and my wife did not have a honey-do list for me. It was a Saturday. And I thought, I'm going to start a Facebook group about AI. Had I thought about it, I probably never would have started the group. So stop thinking about it and just do it. Imperfect action today is better than perfect action tomorrow because it never comes. So with that said, thank you for being honest about that and where that is. As I take a look at that, and my ADD brain tries to remember everything you said, I'm sure there are laws. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I'm sure there are laws that say you can't say I only work with women. But you can absolutely, because I know plenty of businesses that do it, say we specialize in helping Gen X women or whatever do whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as I'm aware, the in and of itself, that's not an issue. Make sure that if you want to work with women, make sure your programs appeal to women and not to men. Easy peasy. Now if that means I want to subscribe and join, doesn't mean you won't necessarily let me, but you may want to then go, hey, Jonathan, I see you joined my Gen X women, leadership. You're welcome to join us, but you'll be the only one with a beard in there, or at least that hasn't shaved the beard. And, are you really sure you want to be there? Because we talk about all of these things that Gen X women are going through. I'm not sure as a 55-year-old guy with a beard, this is going to be applicable. And I really don't want to not provide you value. Do you see the difference? I'm not saying I won't work with me, but I'm trying to make it really clear that, you probably aren't going to get a lot of value out of this. To the best of my knowledge, here in the United States, it's still legal to do that. And that could change at any point in time, depending on your political outlook. And I'm not here to be political, but we know that could change at any point in time. But I would, if you want to work with Gen X women, call them out in your free group. I would make your group about empowering Gen X women.
You
Will
don't
you
think
have
that's
some?
going too niche, Jonathan?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all.
Even
I
though
think
like Gen X business, because obviously our generation, Gen X, like I didn't even think about entrepreneurship, so it's not there's not like as much as the millennials and the Gen Z. So I'm wondering if it's, cutting myself a little too slim.
I don't think you are, but if you're worried about it, then talk about Gen X business owners or Gen X entrepreneurs or something like that. Or if you go, I'm not so worried about Gen X, but I really want to work with women, then talk about women entrepreneurs or something like that. There's a lot of different ways you could go about that to figure out that. Use that ICP navigator that I shared
Okay.
and ask seriously, and this sounds really weird, folks, but I mean this in all seriousness. Have a conversation with that. And what I would do, Violet, is go, hey, here's who I want to work with, but I want to make sure I'm not too narrow. And remember, AI has been trained on like every book in every library, and it's got really fast recall. So when you start asking it questions, it's going to bring up things that are not likely to change your mind, but are likely to help direct your thought process. And that's exactly what you want it to do. It's the same reason you'd hire a consultant to work with you. So my opinion as a 55-year-old Gen X guy, no, I don't think saying Gen X women or Gen X entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs, I don't think any of those are too niche. You still got
Okay.
literally millions and millions of people to do that. I'll
Okay.
remind you of a quote that I heard from probably the best coach that I ever hired when I had my agency business years ago. We worked with a gentleman by the name of Josh Nelson at Seven Figure Agency, and he was amazing. And I remember Josh saying at one point in time, because somebody asked him, there were about 300 members in the coaching group, all digital marketing agencies, that had niches. And yet, out of the top 20, like 15 of them were in the exact same niche as Josh's business was. And I remember they said, why are you teaching people that are doing the exact thing you're doing to the exact audience that you're doing, how you do it? And his response, I will never forget. He goes, I need about 500 to 800 clients to make more money than I know what to do with. There's 9,800 of them in the United States. So for you, I would say you've got millions of women in Gen X women or Gen X women entrepreneurs or however you want to slice that pie. It's not too small. It's not too
And you
small. In
think
fact,
the
what
Gen
you will
X
find
network's
is,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Do you think that's a good name, the Gen X network? Somehow I got the URL too.
Well, I don't think it's a bad name. One of the things I would do is I would reach out to some people that you know that are in your target audience and go, if I said, are you a Gen X woman? Are you a Gen X woman entrepreneur? Would that resonate with you? Would you go, oh, that's me? I don't know if Gen Xers, even though I am one, I don't know if we identify as Gen Xers or not.
Oh, yes,
we
we
heard,
do. Yes,
do
we
we?
do.
Well, and again, I'm a guy, so it may be different. I mean,
Yeah.
but ultimately, yeah, I think it's a great one. I do not
Okay.
think it's too small. So,
Awesome.
but I would start your Facebook group, going back to your first question. If you want to start Facebook because it's low friction, great place to get in, start your free Facebook there and target that Gen X woman that you want to talk to, or maybe even that Gen X woman entrepreneur if it's that detailed. It's still a huge audience. So
Awesome. Thank
awesome.
you.
Good question. All right. Delaney, you are next. Delaney, what's on your mind?
Hi. Piggybacking off of the name situations, still. So, um, been in business a long time. Back when URLs were first starting, we all wanted that perfect. They had the
Yes,
SEO.
we did.
So I got that with Branson Family Reunion Photography, and I was so excited. Then I wanted to expand, and so I dropped the brands and went with Family Reunion Photography. Have some Facebook pages with that on there. So, but I also attended a course with Peter Nevis about trademarking, and he said you cannot trademark your names because they're too descriptive. So you have to have something that's non-descriptive. So I was like, okay, I landed on the name that I love and I'm happy with, but I still have those old pages that I don't really want to get rid of because they bring me a couple of clients a year.
Sure.
And so should I just let them hover out there? And I don't know.
Well, I think you're talking two different types of marketing. So for trademarking, you're right. You're going to need to have a name. It's like my company is Whitebeard Strategies, but I'm guessing there's some of you on this call that didn't actually know that because I don't really promote that that's the name of my company. That's not what I'm promoting. And it's there. That's the legal entity. When you see your Stripe statement, it's going to show you that you got billed by Whitebeard Strategies because that's the name of my company. But when I'm marketing, I'm really trying to market based upon what's going to grab attention, just like I do with my group. I love it. Branson Family Reunion Photography. I love that. It's great because it describes exactly what you do and where you do it. That doesn't mean that has to be your business name. And so, you could make that your tagline, for example. It could be Delaney's Photography, specializing in, and I'm now from IDD brain, I forgot, but Family Reunion Photography in Branson, Missouri. Whatever that is, you could easily do that. And I would not make my marketing decisions based upon trademarks if I could help it, if that makes sense.
Thank you, because I've just been like, gosh, dang it, I love that new name, but it's not descriptive.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's what I would do. So grab
I
people's attention like you're doing. Good job on that, Delaney.
Great,
All
thank
right. Sherry, what's going on? Normally I don't get to talk to you on these calls. This is like a bonus.
Because I don't have a question and I don't have a question now. What I did tell Tina Julie I was going to do for her was ask the question she was having a problem asking before. So her question when she couldn't respond was, I have several Facebook groups which are not very active. What is your opinion if she uses one of these groups, one has over 7,000 members, what if she changes the groups to stem cell so they have
Yeah,
been
we
active?
actually we actually already answered that one. I
Oh,
think
did
you
you?
may have
Okay,
been in
good.
between. Yep. So we got her
Yeah, I
answered.
was
I think
probably
she's good to
answering.
go.
Yeah,
No, you
awesome.
guys, while Sherry's here, I want to take a moment and from literally the bottom of my heart, thank Sherry. Boy, I say that too fast at the end of the
Blah,
day, and
blah,
I'm going to
blah.
mess that up. I did not want to shank Terry. I wanted to thank Sherry, for all the work she puts in to help manage this group. So she spends time during these 2-hour trainings actually answering questions and following up and telling me all the things I've missed. So Sherry, truly from the bottom of my heart, I am incredibly grateful for what you do. And I want to make sure everybody publicly hears that because Sherry is a rock star. So thank you, Sherry, for what you do.
Thank you. I can't wait to hug you. We got to find a time where I can come find you in person.
I'm going to be in, you're not, you're up north, right? And because on the West
I'm in
Coast.
Southern California. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in San Diego in 2 weeks. How close are you to San Diego?
Oh, dude, I'm a 2-hour drive. I would do that in a
We
heartbeat.
should talk and have dinner Sunday night, the 15th or 16th. We should have
Okay.
dinner.
Okay.
because I get in early enough to have dinner before I start my event on Monday. That would
Ooh,
be awesome.
yeah, let's talk.
By the way, if you guys are in San Diego and I haven't asked Sherry if she likes steak yet, but I've been seriously thinking I need a good steak dinner. If you're in San Diego that Sunday, let me know. Let's get a group of like 10 of us together and go out and have really good steak dinner in San Diego. That'd be fun. So, and I mean that, by the way. No jokes. I mean it. All right, Sherry, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. All right, let's see. Next up is Greg. Greg, what's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for putting on this training here. It's really good. I've been looking forward to it. So I'm gonna probably jump the gun here a little bit. I just
That's
couldn't
okay.
wait to the last day, but I'm super stoked on newsletters. I have been the last couple of years. I've dabbled in a few of them, so I've been going back and forth. They kind of started out with Ghost and Beehive has just blown up in the last couple of years. I've known that you've been on Beehive. I've almost pulled the trigger on it. I follow it all the time, but now you mentioned the other day that you're moving it all over to GHL. I'm a big GHL fan. I use it all the time in my business. So I just want to get your input. And I see you got two different newsletters. One you're running out of GHL right now. The other one you're still running on Beehive.
Right.
Are you gonna put it all on GHL? And
Yes.
my big question is, just tell me why you're doing it. Sell me on it, please.
Control and trackability is the biggest reason. So what Greg's talking about right now is one of the things you're likely going to want to do after you build a group is you're going to want to add a newsletter, because one of the best ways to engage people is think about how easy this is, folks. We're going to talk about this. Greg is jumping the gun, but that's great, by the way. I don't mind Greg. Think about this. You build a group. I don't care if you got 100 people. And not everybody's going to be in that group every day. So now you take the best content from that group and you make a newsletter out of it. And you send it out once a week, couple times a week, every day once the list gets to be big enough. That is how you leverage this group. That's the next step that you take. So you're thinking the right direction. We've been using Beehive because it was easy and it came recommended, and they do a good job. I have no complaints about Beehive. I'll be very clear about that. But as our group as my list has grown, we're pushing nearly 100,000 people on our email list right now. One, that gets really expensive on Beehive. I'm spending close to like $1,000 a month just for their service. And because I don't monetize it as well as I should, that's an expense that I notice really quickly. The other part is that I'm really fortunate in that a lot of the emails that we send out, people open and want to read. So our spam rate is like essentially non-existent. That means that I now have a huge risk on Beehive because they're using shared IP addresses. And I'm going to get a little technical. Sherry will understand this better than I do, but they use shared IP addresses. And so, Greg, if you and I both had an email list and you decided to spam the crap out of some people,
Yeah,
I'm going to get
you
hurt
get
based on
penalized.
that.
Yeah, I know. I know
So
about shared
I
IPs.
don't
Yeah.
I don't want that. Now, that doesn't mean they're a bad service. All of the services do that. That's just what comes along with the shared services. So we're moving everything over to GHL for better trackability, better control. And the other reason we're doing it is for marketing purposes. Inside of GHL, or inside of, no, you're not GHL, inside of Beehive, I can't see easily, I'm not gonna say I can't because maybe there's a way, but I can't easily go, I want to take everybody that clicked on the video that I did about DeepSeek last week that I sent on my newsletter, and I want to send them a follow-up because there's a new Chinese AI that I think they'll be interested in. There's not
Right.
an easy way to do that. In
Yeah.
GHL, may not be easy, but it's definitely possible. And
Yeah.
Sarah, who's on my team, is quickly becoming an expert at it. And she then can go, oh, you know what? We've got a new video we want to send out, and we want to get a max open rate on it because, of course, that's something the ISPs like to see. That helps my deliverability overall. GHL just gives me more control. If
Yeah.
you're
The new
starting a newsletter and you're looking for ease, that's how I started. Remember, I'm the ADD guy. Beehive is hard to beat. If you get big enough with that group and you decide you want to leverage it in stuff, then GHL provides you with a much more granular level of control, and it's still not hard. I mean, I need to do a shout out to Sarah. I think she's on the call. Sarah's brand new on my team. She started about 3 weeks ago. I literally gave her the project for our elite email and said, see what you can do and figure it out. I'm busy. I was a little nicer about it then, but literally, I don't have time right now. We need to do this. She literally designed it in Canva. She brought over the elements into GHL. I had to believe it was the first time Sarah's ever used it. And within 2 days, she had the newsletter built out and ready to go. And now every day we're sending out our elite AI emailer.
Okay. Well, yeah,
So
you just like you confirmed what I was thinking. The two things, I'll go let on move to the next question. That GHL has really up to one reason I hadn't gone over there yet is their polls. That's number one when you're doing your newsletter is doing polls, actually polling your audience.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. Doing with surveys, doing your
Yep.
surveys, and then ask them within there. So now the list segmentation has really gotten good. So a smart list, you can literally segment each one of those people out as much and drill down as much as you want. That's what I'm really excited about. But
Yeah,
anyway, I'll
the drill down capabilities for us to look at a newsletter list and say, who's opened it in the last 3 days. All of that stuff is really, really critical.
yeah. Well,
So,
thanks for answering my question. I'll
no,
let
great
somebody
question.
else go.
I'm glad you asked. All right. Let's see. Next we have up John Thomas. John, what's on your mind, John?
Hey, thanks for having this. This is, I think, is my second class with you. Good information. It's actually encouraged me to pull the trigger on a lot of things. So
Yay, I love to hear that.
I've been in business the last, oh God, 15 years or so. And so I'm getting more because I bought a franchise, did really well. We did seven figures, which is, I think in my circle, right? It's very uncommon what I've done. And so I'm at the point where we're getting ready to sell the business. I want to get into my personal, more building my personal brand. And I've been working on that on LinkedIn, a little bit on Facebook, a little TikTok. And my question is, um, how hard is it? Because I hear people talking about they're juggling like 10 groups and 50 groups, and everybody looks all like they know what they're doing. They got mics and cool backgrounds and stuff. So I love it. So I wanted to know, is that really difficult to do? Because I have my business experience, which I know a lot about. I have a lot of business experience, tech experience. I actually built a chat GPT this morning from chat GPT, which was super cool. I didn't think
Nice, very good.
so. My question is, should I target the business and industry that I know, which is the service industry on the property management
Hmm.
side, or should I target, I guess, more of my passion, which is helping people like me that are, people of color. We're still behind on a lot.
Hmm.
AI is no exception. I still run into my employees and people that still like, oh no, I've never downloaded ChatGPT, or I want to start a business. So I feel like there's a lot of room to
Oh
to
yeah.
give information and teach. So I was wondering, it's like, should I try to do both? Should I just focus on one? How do you kind of brand yourself with that?
I think that if you split your focus, you're going to be less effective. Plain and simple. You can only put so many hours. And you asked, how hard is it juggling? When you're starting off, when you're starting your first group, it's not a big deal at all. I will tell you at this point, I probably spend 2 to 4 hours a day inside my group, posting and moderating and doing all that. Sherry spends time in that group. Julie spends time in that group. Others spend time in that group every day. So it takes time, but it doesn't take time when you're getting it started. It takes a lot of time as it grows, and then of course it makes it worthwhile. So that's just step number one. As far as your mic and your background and all that, all you need in order to do incredibly well is get a light that shines on your face because you've got a window behind you. You sound great. Your background looks fine. You could literally go buy a $30 ring light on Amazon or buy two of them and put them on each side of your monitor and point in at you at a 45-degree angle, and you'd have everything you need. Literally. I mean, you sound great. Your background's fine. Doesn't matter. If you watch my early videos and even a lot of my current videos, most of them are done on my mobile phone sitting inside a vehicle because I take my wife around and then she wants to go shop and I go, I'm just going to record some videos. So don't let that stop you. To your question of niche, I'm almost always going to go passion, almost always, because you know what? You want to love what you do. And there is no, especially with your experience that you have, you may be able to, maybe you can talk to people of color that are in the service industry even. I mean, literally use what you've got, but AI is a massive opportunity. I mean, literally, we've got 143 people on the call right now. We were up to about 160 earlier. If every single one of us decided to pursue a niche with AI, there'd still be more business than we could all handle. That is a massive opportunity right now. And if you're interested in it and you like it and you have a way to communicate with your audience that works, I have a very unique way. Some people like the way I communicate. There are other people that would hate my courses because I don't send out syllabuses in advance and I don't follow them point by point. And I never use a PowerPoint slide. Okay. But there are people that want that. Those people just don't take two of my courses because the first one they take and go, oh, geez, Jonathan doesn't do any of that. Nope, I don't. And that's just not who I am. And that's okay. And I would encourage you to really do the exact same thing. If you're passionate about AI and helping people of color embrace it and learn how to leverage it, let's do it. I mean,
Yeah. And
you would
I
be able
think
to.
I see that. I think I really, like I said, genuinely see that, right? So again, I have a whole company to run. But
Yep.
I cracked my arm and I've literally been just AI binging and building stuff. But I even see the results and you kind of confirm what I thought. Even I have two newsletters, one for property posts for property managers and people in the service industry, and then one which is more personal branding, talking about, my experience in
Yep.
technology as a veteran and as, we're going into business ownership, things like that. So in that one does, I posted like 4 times on LinkedIn and I had like 100 people sign up for my newsletter for my
Yeah.
personal brand. So I'm like, I think this is probably the way I should be going.
And newsletters are great. A real quick segue, because I know we've only got about 20 minutes left or so, but I want to answer this. You asked about equipment and studio and all that. You do not need to break the bank on studio equipment, guys. If you have a mobile phone, you can put it on a tripod in front of you, or just go buy a $50 1080p webcam. Doesn't have to be anything expensive to get started with. If you're going to spend money, and you can't see it real well here, this is what you spend money on right there. Buy a good microphone. But this one wasn't crazy. I mean, it was crazy expensive for me, but it was $200. I have now used it for a couple years and it's still great. It is the first investment that you want to make. All total, the lights in the background, the IKEA, the little blue, all of that. I probably don't have $500 in everything in my studio. So it doesn't have to be terribly expensive. So, and I added a lot of that at Christmas time. I spent like $300 at Christmas to add some new lights. So, you don't have to spend a ton of money on stuff to be able to do it. More than anything else, we talked earlier with Victoria, imperfect action. Just take it. Take action. And especially as we're starting groups, just take action. So, John, does that make sense? Did I answer your question for you?
Absolutely. Like I said,
Awesome.
absolutely. So it's
Thank you.
working.
It's a great question. Love it. Thank you so much. All right, Vicky, you are next. What's on your mind, Vicky?
Well, but maybe too much.
No, that's all right. We love it.
I kind of identify with John actually in many respects. I started a group in 1999 on e-groups. I'm older than most of you guys, and it was like all there was e-groups, and then they immediately got bought out by Yahoo Group to reign the Yahoo Group till in the middle of COVID when Yahoo Groups disappeared. And now I'm trying to rebuild the group, and it's a whole new world out there because when you're the only game in town, which Yahoo Groups and e-groups were,
Oh yeah.
it was simple. At the moment, I started during COVID when Yahoo Groups disappeared, trying to rebuild my group. I'm on Mighty Networks now after going through a crud load of,
Another good option. Yep, it's
yeah.
another good option.
I'm really pretty happy with it. It's really easy to operate. The only problem with it is it does so much. It
Sure.
does it simply, but it does 1,000 things simply. So it's quite a bit. The coding is fantastic. The support is fantastic. I love it. But so I'm trying to rebuild my list, rebuild my whole thing. On top of that, I'm a bit on the spectrum and I have a ginormous, a goat would choke on my mind map. I have a mind map that goes forever. For, female private investigators, FLIP, female legal and investigative professionals. And it's a cumbersome name, but it's been there since 99. So I kind of got to go with the brand.
Yep.
We TV did a special on us. We got known all around the world. I eventually pulled a bunch of the stuff down. I've got the website being worked, so I'm trying to do a lot of things that are too much for me to run my PI business and do all of this. But my main dream and goal is to move it into a pay gated but reasonably priced community with classes, I want to train. There are pretty much all women are interested in learning private investigation. It's a remarkable statistic. And so I want to help some of those people get trained and help the volunteer groups because my flip group does a lot of missing kids, trafficking, all that kind of thing. That's
Very
what I'm
cool.
trying to deal with. We
Okay.
do all kinds of cool stuff. We got some publicity. We got a convention happening in Vegas. We've got the PI magazine is giving us free ads. I mean, we're going crazy. I'm still having trouble getting people on board. I'm still having trouble getting them engaged. I'm having to learn a new app every day. And since AI hit, every day the app changes and I have to relearn it the next morning. I'm losing my mind here. Am I just going to kill myself trying to do this, or is all of this going to be covered? How do we do this? Like, can
First
I
thing,
survive
yeah.
this?
You can, and I'm going to ask a huge favor, Vicky. I just paid attention to the clock for the first time in a while.
Oh,
We're past, we're good on time, but we've got at 90 minutes. I always like to let everybody know kind of where we're at because that's what I ask you to commit to. That's what they're scheduled for. I generally run longer. So, guys, if you need to drop off, I apologize. We're going to go ahead and finish up in about 15 minutes here, and I will answer your question, Vicky. But I want to make sure that tonight, if you're not sure on who your audience is, go through that ICP Navigator. I will post that in the group here momentarily. Also, I want you to go through the entire setup and figure out what you need for your group. And that's going to be your Community Launch Pro GPT that I shared. So go through both of those tonight, spend a few minutes, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about then how do we begin building this, and some of what Sherry or Vicky's asking about, how do we grow that community? How do we get in front of the right people? How do we get people there? So because I forgot to do that at the top of the hour, that's for everybody that needs to drop off in the meantime. So back to you, Vicky. A couple things I want to recommend. First, welcome to the world of ADD. I live there every moment of my life, and I love it most of the time. I really do. It's a superpower. But I want to encourage you, and this is for everybody on this call. I encourage you, if you missed everything else, please hear this. AI is changing at a frantic pace.
yeah.
And 2025 is going to be faster than 2024 was. And the reason is really simple. We have more companies getting into AI and we have more money getting into AI. And people that put money into things like to hear press releases that their product that they're backing is doing things that others are not, or at least that they're keeping up. And that means that you're likely going to literally hear what would have been last year earth-shattering AI announcements every single week of 2025, sometimes every day of the week. What does that mean to us as entrepreneurs? It means focus on one or two tools and don't worry about the rest. And I mean that in all sincerity. Last week, it was all about DeepSeek from China. Is it better? Is it good? Is it safe? Is it not? For 99% of us, myself included, it doesn't matter. We have ChatGPT already. It does everything we need it to do. Does it mean down the road something may not change? Now it may, but it's okay. It's not happening today. Don't get caught in the bright, shiny object syndrome. Focus on what works. And right now, you need a tool like ChatGPT. You need a great search engine like Perplexity, and you need an image tool like Midjourney or Flux. That's it. And by the way, the only ones of those you need to pay for is ChatGPT and Midjourney because you can use Perplexity for free if you want. Are there other tools? Yes. Do I use other tools? Yes, I do. But I don't use them every day and I bring them in as I need them. You don't need to master all of them. You can use ChatGPT, Vicky, and do everything that you need to do to promote that group, to grow that group, to get the advice for that group. The only thing ChatGPT is probably not going to do for you very well is create talking head videos. So you're going to have to occasionally grab this device. It's called a phone. You've probably got one, and you're going to hold it up in front of you and you're going to press record. And once in a while, you're going to leave a message that way. Everything else, literally, ChatGPT can do for you. It can even create okay images. I just like Midjourney because I don't like DALL-E, but it'll even create okay images. It has GPT search. You don't really need Perplexity. You can do everything with that. If I was on a desert island, and I remember the Tom Cruise, not Tom Cruise movie, Tom Hanks movie when he was like stranded or marooned, or whatever it's called. If I was on a desert island and I had a computer and a good internet connection, I could only have one AI tool. I'd have ChatGPT, and I could get everything done I needed to get done and more. So don't get too caught up in the wave because all year long in 2025, folks, it's going to be a big wave and lots of them. Just focus on what matters. And I'll tell you, if you're part of my group and stuff like that, if we ever get to the point that you need to change, you'll hear about it everywhere. It'll be very, very obvious. So hopefully that makes sense, Vicky. I don't know if it does, but for what you're doing, I think a group is a great way to do that. Reach out to that group, grow that group. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about some growth strategies and things that you can do in order to grow that group. So
I appreciate it. And just, yeah, I just want to see if I'm in over my head on the technology because I've got too many irons in the fire at the moment.
yeah, don't worry about the technology. Just find one thing that works and you'll be good.
Well, I got you. There's
Yeah,
that.
you got me. Absolutely. And I'll be happy to help you. That's part of my role. This is the reason that I downloaded and used DeepSeek so that everybody else didn't need to, you know? So good question. All right. We've got 12 minutes left. I'll be happy to answer questions. Felicia, you are next. What's on your mind, Felicia?
Thanks for letting me have a repeat question and
Of
forgive me. I'm
course.
overcoming the flu, so it's
Well, you know,
scratchy at times.
the beauty thing about it is I can't catch it via Zoom, not yet at least. So we're good.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So you have done a phenomenal job of serving us in that really free group. Like what you and the Tim did over the weekend of like answering all those prompts. And I was up in the middle of the night because I had the flu and I could literally see you all answering prompts at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I couldn't tell if they were automated or if there are people who are working around the clock, but I love the way you serve us. And one
Thank
of the
you.
things I've heard from others is, okay, um, if you give everything away for free, how are you going to sell everything? You can
Mm.
outsell yourself from other like people who talk about groups and what you should
Yep.
do. But also, one of the ways to build credibility is to give for free. How do you differentiate what you're giving from free and what you're going to sell in your course? When do
For the
you
most,
say,
yeah. No, it's a good question. For the
please?
most part, I don't. So I'm gonna break every one of you guys. You're gonna go, oh no, I should have done this. You can probably learn almost everything I teach in my challenges if you pay attention to every post I have
Yeah.
and every video I have and everything else. Here's the downside. It would take me weeks to find it all, let alone you guys. It'd take
Mhm.
weeks to find it. And then you're the direct access. So just what we're doing right here, Felicia, we're answering your
Right.
questions. We're going, that's something that I can't take the time to do. Not that I wouldn't be willing to. I do some free trainings and do some free AMAs, ask me anythings, but I don't have the time to do all of that. I do absolutely believe, in fact, when I started the AI business, so my background's in digital marketing. I worked in a digital marketing agency and owned one for 15 years. I stepped away in 2023. And one of the things I tried to prove at that point, because I had a belief in my heart, and some of my mentors had told me, if you give it away and you charge for implementation, you can build a great business. And so
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
tried to follow that model. Now, are there some things I don't give away? Yeah. For example, I've not given away the two GPTs I shared with you have only been available in free communities. But I gave away an entire training in January on how to build your own custom GPTs. So if you want to, you could go out and build those custom GPTs. Most people don't want to take the time or the energy to do it. And so I make them part of my paid offerings and something that you get as part of that offering. And I hopefully still, my goal is very candidly, you guys all paid 97 bucks to be here. By the way, in the next course, you can pay 87 if you didn't pay 87, because I give you guys all a discount. If this is your first course, just watch for that. It'll come out again. We will be doing more. But I want to add value, so much value that you go, that was so worth it. Man, I'm so glad I paid for it. I want that in the free group, but I also want that in my paid offerings. So to answer your question, I don't really draw the line other than that if I look at certain things and I go, okay, I did this much, I'll give you the information, but I may not do it for you in the free group.
Right. Right.
But I'll give you the information. You want to learn how I can tell, I'll tell everybody right here. I'd tell everybody in the free group. How did I build Community Launch Pro? I came up with an idea. I went to ChatGPT. I told it what I was, actually, I went to Claude. I didn't go to ChatGPT. I went to Claude. I told it what I was trying to do. And by the way, I've already trained a Claude model on how to build GPT. So that's what I was talking to. I then went ahead and I went to Google's new deep research tool because Claude and I found 8 different things we needed for training data for Community Launch Pro in order to achieve my objectives. And I went into Google's deep research and we spent almost 4 hours creating 8 documents for training purposes. Well, the good news is Google spent 8 hours on it. I spent about 8 minutes. I typed the stuff and it worked in the background. By the way, if you're not
I
familiar
love
with
it.
deep research, not part of this training, deep research, you give it a goal and an objective and it takes like a half hour to get back to you. It literally goes out and does research. But I used that. Then I ran all of that back through Claude to summarize it, to make sense, to clarify it, and turn that into training data that I could build this with. We then used Claude to write the custom instructions, and then we did a bunch of testing. So I've probably, between myself and my team, we've probably got about 12 hours worth of work into building this GPT. I'm not giving that away. That you're going to have to, and you guys did, you joined the course, so you get that, no problem.
Right.
But I'm not giving that away in the free group because I put 12 hours into it. I did give away the knowledge on how to do it. It's there. If you want to pick it apart, you can figure it out. I didn't try to hide it. It's there. You know, I'm very open about that. And you'll probably see a video later this week about this GPT. I won't, by the way, give it away, but I'll tell them how I created it. I'll show everybody, here's what I did. Not step by step, not all 12 hours, but we'll lay it out. Because the number of people that will actually take the information that you gave and do something with it, Felicia, is less than 10% of your audience. It's probably less than 3% of your audience. And let's say it is 10%. Of that 10%, none of those 10% are likely the people that would have ever paid you to do it anyway. They weren't in a position to or weren't going to. And so now you've just added value to their lives. You've raised that my grandfather used to say, if the water tide raises, every boat raises with it. And that's
Right.
always been
That's
one of
right.
my goals is I want to raise the water level, not so we drown, but I want to raise everybody's boats because guess what? My boat goes up and your boat goes up at the same time because they all float on top of the water. And so that's my objective. That's who I am. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I share the knowledge very freely. The
Right.
implementation part, I don't as freely.
Right. Right. No, I can definitely see that. And to me, it also seems like your philosophy is love wins. If I lead with love, how
100%.
can I best serve you? How can I best love you? Some of this other stuff is going to work itself out,
It will.
and I'm going to be taken care of at the end.
Yep, it will. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense. We got time for
It
one
does.
more
Thank you.
question. Gord, you are going to be our last question. Gord, what's on your mind?
Oh, thank you for taking my question. I waited so long, but thanks for squeezing me in. I have a
Of
couple.
course.
They're small ones.
Oh, go ahead.
One is go high level. Did I read that they charge a certain small cost for emails, and how does that scale before if you were looking at platform and you were concerned about email cost? Because I'm using Active Campaign and I'm a small guy and I've not been consistent, and I just feel I've been wasting a lot of money for a long time. Where go high level will give me all these other assets to build my world.
I don't
So
I
do you
don't
have
have a great question because I don't set it up. So I use behind the scenes. Go High Level has their own email service, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And then I use one called
well that
Total Mind Blank. I forgot. Anyway, I use a
um,
third party service behind it. I spend about $25 to $50 a month, and I've never had to spend more money on that.
for email?
Mailgun.
Mailgun, thank you, Sherry. Yes, I use Mailgun. That's exactly what I use. And
So
Mailgun's
that
basically,
integrates into GHL, no,
mhm,
right?
yep,
Okay.
yep. And
Okay.
they have
Thank you
another
for
service.
that. Yeah.
If anybody's got a GHL stuff, and they have another service as well that they use. And you can use either of them. So there are some small charges that you may run into, but they're very transparent about them, and
Yeah.
dollar for dollar, it's still an amazing value.
Okay. The next quickie was you said I wouldn't do my website there, but I would landing pages you would do. Is that what I
Yes.
understood correctly? So could you just explain that? Because I was thinking, oh, great, I'll get rid of my simple, professional services website and
Sure.
just do a simple thing in
You you
GHL.
could you could, but even GHL provides WordPress hosting, and I believe
Right.
that my website's on WordPress. I'm not saying it's the only platform, but it's probably going to have better search engine capabilities and be more search engine friendly than a GHL page is. Now that may be changing, and if there's any,
Okay.
again, I have a lot of respect for GHL. I'm not worried about people finding my landing pages by search. I don't, they're
Right.
generally only up for 7 days. I'm not worried about it. I'm promoting those. So I want ease of my use and ease of transaction at that point. And it's candidly, it'd be a lot harder to do everything in WordPress as far as the landing page and the checkout and the automations. You could do it, but it'd be harder. It's just easier to do in GHL.
Okay. And here's my last question. And thank you and by the way, I just want to say one of the things that makes what you do so special is the fact that you share all your experience, no matter what it is, whether it was 100% directly related to exactly what we were doing or not. And I feel I grow so much just by being able to hear everybody's
Well, thank you.
questions
I appreciate
and you
that.
tackle them. I really think that makes a big difference for people that come to your courses. Not long ago, there was something posted in your group and it was called Write Like Me. And I went through that process and I just love what I created. And then I hear you have self-scribe and I'm wondering, are those both for the same purpose?
If I'm not mistaken,
would have-
Write Like Me was something Michael Hyatt posted, if I
Yes,
remember. He posted a
right.
great post about
It
that.
was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. If you've gone through all that, self-scribe is not the same, but you probably don't need it.
Okay.
So, it would be,
I
put
was
it this
wondering,
way,
do you
is-
need both? Does one serve a purpose
as you're
that the other
looking down
doesn't?
as you're looking down, where do I invest and what courses do I take? If you've done Michael's Write Like Me,
Yeah.
great stuff, by the way, huge fan of Michael's.
Yeah.
Use it and buy self-scribe later. You don't need it right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. That was
Guys,
everything.
thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much for everything. We will post the replays. We will see you again tomorrow. We'll have another session tomorrow. If you can, come with an idea of the platform you want. And I'm going to challenge you, if you're not sure, start with a Facebook group because it's easy. We can always change down the road. But I'd like you to go through that ICP Navigator. I'd love to have you go through the Community Launch Pro. I want you to have a good idea because tomorrow we're going to talk about how do we start that group, what type of posts do we put in, and how do we start inviting people to it to grow it, because we've got to get people into our group. And that's a big part of tomorrow. So with that, everybody have an amazing evening. If you have questions, join in the group. We'll be watching that as well. You guys have an incredible evening. We will talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.